Hello, my name is Mark Green from Flexco, and I'd like to review with you how to endless splice Nitta's LVRQ-70 belting. This belt is designed specifically for Honeywell IntelliQ live roller conveyance applications. The two pieces of equipment we'll be utilizing for this demonstration are the Punem NDX 114, as well as the NovaTool Aero 325 splice press. So before we punch the fingers in Nitta's LVRQ-70 belting, we'll need to change or actually install the proper clamps that actually fit the profile of the V-guide. So the way I'm going to do that is simply put them here, and I'm going to screw in these 5mm hex screws. And then push them all the way forward before I tighten them in place. Go ahead and do the second one. Same thing. Remembering to push them all the way forward before tightening it up. Now, before I actually install the first belt end, I'm going to make sure that the punch pad is all the way in the forward position. If I hit a hard stop, I'm just going to back it up, and then I'm going to lock it in place. Now I can load my first belt end. We go through the A side first, and all we do is we bring it through, and then we just flush it up against the edge of the punch table. Just clamp it in place. And then I can begin by punching the belt. Now I'm going to go all the way through the entire width of the belt. Once I'm through, I'm going to simply lock it in place. Now I can release my clamps and remove my belt. And as you can see here, I've got some belt waste that I'm going to remove. I'm going to repeat the same process. Now I'm going to go in from the B side. Once again, I'm going to flush this up to the edge of the punch table, and now I'm just going to repeat the same process, but I'm going to go the opposite way. And then once again, I'm going to lock it, the handle in the upright position, remove my belt, and then remove my belt waste. Now what you'll want to make sure you remember is when you punch two belt ends, you're going to have a total of 10 inches of belt waste. So you need to keep that in mind when you're actually cutting your belt to the length that you desire it to be. So now that your belt ends are prepared to be spliced, we can get the splice press ready, but first we have to get the proper silicone template. So for the Nitta LVRQ-70, belting, we'll need Flexco's item 109637 silicone template. So let's start by removing the splice press top beam. The traditional style clamps, silicone cloth, and then install the silicone template. Now, what we have to do before we install the belt is we have to make sure that the template is in perfect alignment. So we do that by using the pressure plate. If you notice, on this clamp at the end, there's a perfect cutout, and that cutout is actually where this part of the pressure plate is going to fit in. So let's get these locked in place. And then I'm going to get the template and the pressure plate in alignment. I've actually fit it in those cutout grooves I just showed you. And now what I can do is lock down the template. And we don't need a lot of pressure to lock this template in place, just enough so it doesn't move around while you're installing the belt. Now I can remove this pressure plate and get ready to install our belt. So take your first belt end and install it into your template. So we'll open up the end clamp and we'll lay the first belt end in. And let's keep in mind that we have to have the fingers in the center of the press. So once I've got them in the center of the press, I'm going to simply take my end clamp and just clamp this first belt end into place, so it doesn't move when I mesh the opposing belt end together with it. Okay, we'll get our second belt end, and we're going to also put that in the template. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide it so it's tightly meshed up against the opposite belt end. Now, what we want to do is make sure we get it as tight as possible. Any voids may not fill in during the splicing process. So a couple of tricks here. You can either lay your hand over the fingers to really tightly push your belt ends together so the fingers don't buckle up, or sometimes I like to use the pressure plate itself. I just kind of hold it over top of those fingers and push it tightly together. Once you're in a good position where your fingers are tightly meshed, simply take your other belt clamp, clamp it in place, and just really quickly confirm that your pressure plate fully covers the entire length of that splice, and it does. So I'm going to remove this, take my silicone cloth, put it over the belt. Then I'll take my pressure plate, make sure it goes into the clamp bars so it stays in perfect alignment. And then take my top beam and clamp that in place. Make sure that your top beam stays in good alignment with the bottom beam. Clamp in place. And all you have to do is lightly tighten this. Just use a cross-sex pattern with your fingers. Just finger tighten it. And now we can go ahead and power up the press and then program the recipe into the press before splicing the belt. Prior to powering up the press, we'll first have to plug in the umbilical cord and latch it in place, as well as the main power cord. Latch that in place, and then plug the other end of the power cord into your main power supply. All right, we can power up the press. The press is going to ask me about my power cord. So here it's saying I've got a single phase 110 volt 20 amp power cord. Is that what I want? I'm just going to scroll to correct. And then my recipe for this is going to be 1.5 bars. No preheat. My top temperature is going to be 185 degrees. Bottom is going to be 165 degrees. My dwell time is going to be 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And then my cool down is going to be 70 degrees Celsius. So all I have to do now is just simply hit my green button and we can go ahead and splice this belt. All right, now that the cycle is complete, take a look at the bottom right-hand corner. You can see that the cycle time was 25 minutes and 50 seconds. Before we can remove the top beam, we have to first release the pressure by pushing the blue button. Once all the air is off, we can now turn the press off and unplug from our main power source, and then remove our power cord and our umbilical cord before removing the top beam. Now we can remove our connector bolts. Our top beam, pressure plate, silicone cloth, undo our clamps, and inspect our splice. Now, if we look here, we don't see any voids, just a nice flow all the way across that splice. And when I flip it over, same thing. You can't even see the fingers, totally filled in. Now that's a great splice. Notice I've turned the press back on. The reason I did this was because we had such a great splice, we're going to store that in the press. So in order to do that, I'm just simply going to scroll down to Store Recipe, and then I can start putting in my nomenclature. So we'll put in LVRQ-70. So all I have to do is click. L V whoops, R Q, and then to go to numbers, we just go the opposite direction. 7, 0, and then I can just scroll over to done, confirm, and now if you look up in the upper left, you can see the LVRQ-70. So that's all there is to it. So because we've stored the recipe, at any time we can come back to the press and just load it. So in order to do that, we just go down to load recipe, and go to our custom folder, and right here we can see the LVRQ-70. Just scroll to that, click on it, and your recipe is all ready to go. That's all there is to it. I'm trusting this video was helpful. If you have any other questions concerning Flexco's NovaTool product line, please visit www.flexco.com.